Northwoods Park, and I'm gonna be showing you what's in my bag. First, I'll start off with my putting putters. I've got two Prime Judges. They're just regular Judges. I switched from these to P2s. These just feel a little bit more shallow in my hand, which makes a cleaner release for me personally, which I might go back to P2s next year, who knows. But for right now, these are what's feeling comfortable for me. This year, I've got a lot more throwing putters. I've been experimenting with throwing putters a lot more this year. So I've actually got 5, well, probably just 4, but this is kind of like a hybrid between a mid and a putter. So we'll get to that one. First, for my understable throwing, I've got a Sensei. This I'm trying to get it to beat up into a hyzer flip to turnover that just turns right. Just turnover shots for putters. Really nice for those understable approaches. Next, I've got the Armadillo. This is purely just like a sidearm approach, a straight sidearm approach. Or even if I'm in a weird spot with the tree, I'll turn it over. So that's kind of what I have this for. I'll use it for backhands, but not very often. It's mostly a sidearm disc. Next, my straight throwing putter, which I've been loving this year, has been the Proxy. I love this for just hyzer flip ups that just ride straight with no left to right movement really. It's just dead straight. Next, if I need something a little bit more stable than that Proxy, but still need a little bit of glide, I love this Sky God 4 for that. It's pretty much, it holds a hyzer. If I throw it flat, it'll go straight with a little bit of a dump at the end. So in tournament or in windier conditions, I feel a little bit more confident with this than the Proxy. This has, like I said, just that reliable fade at the end. Next, I've got the Toro. I don't know if you want to call that a mid or a putter. It's kind of a both. Purely this one just for sidearm approaches or off the tee if it's a shorter hole or needs something to go left on a backhand that Sky God just doesn't go left enough on. I will be using the Toro, but mostly I use forehand approaches and forehands for this. Now my mid-range game, which is also I feel like I've got figured out to a lot simpler than what I had before. I've got an MVP deflector. It's the most overstable one in my bag. It's basically like a Justice or just that really overstable mid-range that I can crank on a forehand and know it's not going to turn. Same thing with backhand. Really good for extremely windy days when I need a forehand that Toro just isn't going to handle. I'll be using this. Next, my straight to stable mid-range is a Iron Samurai 3. Really like this for hyzers that I can get it to ride on hyzer if I put a lot more hyzer on it. Mostly just straighter with a little bit of fade in the woods. This is my Mindbender. I really like this for shots that I can put on Annie or just go dead straight. Mostly just a dead straight hyzer flip up disc. Love this in the woods. This is probably one of my favorite discs in my bag right now. And then I've got the Midnight Prowl. At first I didn't like the Midnight Prowl 2. It wasn't as flippy as it is now, but once I beat them in, it's that reliable hyzer flip to turnover shot. So I love these for turnovers. They're probably one of the best turnover discs in my bag. Next, for fairways and control drivers. I've got quite a few of these actually, especially in the control driver slot. So for 6 speeds, I've only got 2 right now for that. I've got 2 Craves. This one's a little bit flippier, just a hyzer flip to turnover, kind of like that Origin almost. Loving this in the woods as well, especially out here in Northwoods. Love this disc. This one is a bit straighter and replaced my FD. This kind of is just a straight disc. I can get it to do a lot more than that though. I can get it to hyzer and stay on a hyzer. I can get to go straight. If I have to throw it on Annie, usually I use that one for Annies, but if I have to, I can throw this one. It'll hold it, but it'll still come out. So for a Crave, this is a pretty nice one. It's nice and stable for that. Next, I've got a few 9-speeds. I've got an FD3, an S-line, the Doombird 2. This one is not, it's kind of like a stable FD2, but it's not quite in that like Firebird slot yet, or anymore. Anyways, it's just not as stable. It's really beat up, but it still has reliable fade. It's just a little bit straighter for that. Next, I've got a little bit step up from that, an FD3 from the new factory. This is how your typical Firebird or Raptor or just FD3 would typically fly. Just that nice, overstable forehand disc, really good for forehands, or I'll use them on backhand sometimes, but not very often. Next, this is kind of more of a utility disc. This is my Splice. This is just a step down from the tilt, but still super overstable. Can make it on big annies that just flex out and just come right back. Really windy, or if I'm trying to scramble, this is a great disc for that. Next, I've got 3 9-speeds and 1 10-speed. We're gonna start off with the most understable, which is this Insanity. This is just a 9-speed version of the Crave. If I need that Crave shot, like that black Crave I had, hyzer flip, turnover, this one comes back a little bit more. I'll use the Insanity, really good for that. I'll use it for rollers sometimes. I don't really use a whole lot of rollers, but if I do, this will probably come out of the bag. But really good for that slot where I just need control and distance. Next, I've got the Tesla. This is what I replaced my FD2 with because it just hyzer flips up and then it still has that reliable fade at the end. Not as stable as that Doombird 2. That's why I like this. I can get a little bit more distance out of this. This is my Wrath. This flies pretty similar to the Tesla. This one's just a hair more stable, so maybe if it's windier out, I'll pull this out instead of that Tesla. But yeah, I like them both. They're both good complements to each other in the bag. When it's a lot windier, I'll pull out this PD. This PD is probably one of my favorites in the bag for spike hyzers or just that straight, maybe more overstable finish, just hyzer shots. Love this disc. Now I've only got 5 distance drivers this year. It's a lot better than what I had last year. Condensed it from 10 to 5. It feels a lot better. Starting with the most overstable, I've got this Rive. This is really overstable for some reason for a Rive. Almost like where I had a PD2 or maybe like a super stable DD3 or just something really overstable. That's what this is. Headwind fighters, sometimes even in the wind it can't affect it at all. It just stays on a high hyzer, just that overstable distance driver I think everyone should have in their bag, especially when it's super windy out. Really reliable. I got a Cloudbreaker. This one has beaten to be fairly, it's still stable but straight in winds. It's a bomber in the wind, but it's just straight in general with a little bit of fade, that good overstable finish. But I need a little bit more distance than the Rive. This is a good disc to have in the bag. I really rely on this a lot. Next, I've got 2 DD3s, the new S-Line DD3s. I use this one mainly. They're both pretty much the same. I just have had this longer in the bag, so I'm trying to get this one to flip up a little bit more and turn. But still, these are my 2 big bombers or straight discs. I'll use this one on forehand sometimes, not a whole lot though. But in the woods, this is a nice forehand disc, but otherwise, mostly just use these for backhand bombers. They go so far. And then I've got a Thrasher. This Thrasher is nice and understable, so I'll use it for big turnovers, or maybe if I'm throwing uphill, where I just can't get that power from the DD3 that I get from this and the flip. Or I'll use this for rollers. I know I said I don't really use rollers, but when I do, this Thrasher is a really nice one. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's all I got in my bag this year. So thanks for watching.